From the opening drive to the final putt, tune in for daily PGA Championship golf updates. Brought to you by your Ontario Subaru dealers on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Sportsnet 590 The Fan.
Hello and welcome to the Raptors Show on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Hey, guess what, Alex? We're back on YouTube. We're back on Sportsnet 360, Monday to Friday between 2 and 3 p.m. I'm your host, William Liu. I'm joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong. After a great weekend, no real Raptors news to talk about. Let's be real. We're going to talk mostly like playoff basketball.
Yeah.
And some very lopsided Game 7s took place on Sunday. Some really, really good Game 6s took place on Friday. But first, the most important thing, we play poker on the weekend.
Yes, that is right. Welcome to the Raptors Show. In name only, we did play poker on Saturday. Saw you twice this weekend, so I think we're actually friends now.
Yeah,
hung out on Friday,
right.
Hung out on Saturday. Enes Esmer, friend of the program, hosted a poker game.
I hope we're still friends because I did feel like I bullied, Enes at certain points.
Oh, yeah. No, you're all good. It's
apologize.
all table talk.
Yeah.
And no, we had a great time. Lots of people there. Freddie, Catherine, Chris. Shouts to my guy, Tom Henry, our guy, Wes. It was a great game.
I didn't realize that we were the least famous people there.
Yeah. Everybody should go check out. We had a chance to meet because, Enes is in the actor world. He knows a lot of comedians.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tom, I found out that Tom Henry has his own stand-up special on Crave called 66 Jokes. I actually went home. So we played until 3. Went home, and at 4 in the morning, I watched the special.
You said I want to hang out with him some more?
Yeah. So
you saw this guy in real life for like 7
to
hours.
My guy,
he was
Tom Henry.
Devastated.
TH, are you on tilt? Because, you lost $150.
Oh, you don't
we're
say
allowed to say we're allowed to say the denominations, right?
Yeah.
It's the lowest stakes game I've ever played.
It was
chasing every flush.
It was a tough run. It was a tough run.
Yeah, but you're good though.
Yeah.
I know Sportsnet's taking care of you.
Yeah.
Okay, anyways, on to basketball. So where should we start?
We're not going to talk about Liverpool. All right, fine.
Oh, what happened with Liverpool? Oh, they won the FA Cup.
That's right.
Yeah, congratulations.
That's right. The quad is still on.
Yeah, I saw LeBron.
2 out of 4.
Yeah, I saw LeBron James tweet a lot about Liverpool.
Yeah.
On Saturday.
Yeah, I was.
Do you think he watched the whole game? He probably watched this one.
It was honestly a bit of a bad watch.
Yeah, but I think he actually watched this one.
I hope so.
Or
it was on in the daytime. It was on Sportsnet. 11:45. The game ended, I think, around 3 p.m. because they played 120 scoreless minutes and then they went to the penalty kicks. And just like in the Carabao Cup final, Liverpool was able to emerge victorious. Shout out to the Greek Scouser.
Allison's header though. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyways.
Okay. All right. That was last year. But
it
was an all-time moment. Anyway, a great weekend for Liverpool because not only did they win the FA Cup, but Manchester City dropped 2 points, drawing away at West Ham. Emotional goodbye for longtime captain Mark Noble.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, you've
completely alienated me.
And the rest of the audience, which again, welcome back to
which
the
is why I will
YouTubers.
not be here tomorrow. Blake Murphy will be returning. Blake Murphy Tuesdays.
100% ball talk on that.
So 100% ball talk today too.
Yeah.
It was a I don't know if I would call it a great weekend of basketball. I was really excited yesterday for the 2 Game 7s.
Yeah.
And they ended up being 2 blowouts. So where do you want to start? You want to start in Boston or you want to start in Phoenix?
Let's start in Boston.
So let's start in Boston. Game 7, Giannis comes out in the first quarter, scores or assisted on the first 24 points of the Bucks. And the Bucks are looking good early. They chose a strategy of leaving certain guys, specifically Grant Williams, open. And Grant Williams was bricking a lot of threes, and it looked like, okay, maybe the Bucks are going to win their 3rd road game of this series. And then to me, it just seemed like Giannis ran out of gas. And once Giannis ran out of gas, the Bucks just did not have anyone in the supporting cast outside of Brook Lopez early on who did anything. I mean, Jrue Holiday had a decent game, but they just didn't have enough guys in the end, and that was it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a big takeaway from that series. I think the other thing, too, is just tactically, it was real interesting because that's the kind of strategy Milwaukee opened up the series with. Remember game 1, they had thoroughly outplayed Boston in that one, really took away the paint, forced a lot of guys to shoot from the perimeter on situations they weren't comfortable with. They were limiting the way Tatum and Brown were able to get into the paint because of the fact that they had Brook Lopez just like always in the paint. And then over the course of this series, they started moving towards other things like switching a lot more actions. They were, more focused, I guess, on taking away the 3-point line at certain points in the series. However, when you do that, if you're going to switch, you're probably going to leave a lot of bad matchups for guys like Tatum and Brown, but Tatum especially to attack. And so when Tatum went off for damn near 50 in Game 6, out-dueling Giannis on Friday and forcing the Game 7 back home, then I was really curious to see what the Bucks were going to go with. Are you going to go with the switching strategy and let the teams play more one-on-one and let stars cook you, or are you going to sort of go back to giving guys shots? And they kind of went back to that. And, of course, the classic example was Grant Williams hitting 7 threes, taking 18 threes.
Yeah.
18 threes, man. That's an incredible amount. You have to salute a guy because, look, he was open like probably 30 times.
Mm-hmm.
So he ended up taking like 18 shots from deep. Obviously made 7. That was huge. But, yeah, honestly, Boston was just a very, very clinical team. Like, I know that my original prediction was Boston in 7 at times in the series. It wasn't looking good, considering the fact that they had lost Game 1 and then they were down 3-2. And obviously Game 5 was just such an incredible ending with Milwaukee just taking away from them at the end. But for them to respond like that, I mean, I hate to say this, and I said it earlier on a few weeks ago, but like the Celtics are a model that that the Raptors should try to build towards, which is very nasty to say because I'm very much a Celtics hater, but they have a lot of good things going on there. And when you look at the construct of that team, it's very similar to the way or the idea that the Raptors built towards, because that is also wings pretty much only, lots of size, lots of switching, really good coaching. And, when you look across like the 4 conference finalists, like that's the model that works.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I was talking to Faisal a little bit about this last week too. You know, I see the Boston model as well. And the way I take away from the Boston model is you need to exercise a lot of patience once you believe in your core players. Yeah, because you think about like the Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, like, I think this is like their 3rd conference finals now that they've made. Because they made it 2017, 2018. Actually, this is the 4th, right? Either 3rd or 4th. Like, they've just been really successful, knocking on the door, but they've also had some setbacks, right?
2017, I think, was still Isaiah Thomas at that point. That team.
Okay, so I think Jaylen Brown might have been a rookie, I want to say, that season. But it wasn't the 2 of them. But anyways, like, they've had this, like, run of success, but we've also seen, like, the Kyrie Irving experiment not work.
Yep.
We've seen them bring in
different
guys. Yeah, Gordon Hayward was there, right? Yep. Al Horford left and came back. Even like this offseason, they picked up like Dennis Schroeder and they realized that didn't work.
Yeah.
So they got rid of that. They brought in, guys. They brought back Daniel Tice, brought in Derek White. So there's just a lot of ups and downs for, core guys to go through, especially when they're at that age. So if you're looking at the Raptors, you're looking at Scotty. I think you throw OG in there because of their age, right? Maybe, I throw Precious in there now too as well, based on how he played this season. Gary, we don't know if he's going to be here long term, but like starting with Scotty, like even though they won 48 games this year and they made the playoffs, like for me, like you got to zoom out and look at it as like 3 to 5 years of how this team's going to develop, the Raptors. Like it's not all going to happen at once is all I'm saying.
I mean, was it intentional that you didn't say Pascal or Fred?
Well, I just left them out just because they're like a bit older. So like, if you think about Pascal and Fred, I'm not saying they're not going to be on the team, but where's Pascal and Fred going to be in like, say 3 to 4 years when Scotty is, you would hope, hitting his prime?
I mean, they're going to be 30. They're going to be like dead on in their
But I
prime,
think we have to accept too, like there's going to be turnover on this Raptors roster if you're looking at the next 5 years, right?
Yeah. But I mean, look, I think ultimately like the Celtics are an example of like, of unfortunately to say this, but really good drafting, and also at certain times pretty good trades to complement that. But like the core of it, they drafted Tatum, they drafted Brown, they drafted Marcus Smart. They had a lot of high picks to do so, and now some of that was obviously because of great trades involving Brooklyn or great trades involving Philadelphia. Still can't believe they traded Fultz.
They got an extra first round.
Got an extra first round pick so that they can get Tatum instead. Just imagine Tatum and Joel Embiid together. And I guess Simmons was also on that team already. So,
man,
I know.
And by the way, speaking of Philly, I was thinking about this too. And I know we both hate to give credit to the Celtics. I think we're pretty obvious about that.
Yeah.
We don't like the Celtics, but congrats to them. Another team i.e. the Sixers, would not have been able to bounce back from losing that game 5 at home the way that they did.
Yeah.
And for Boston to do that, obviously it took a great individual performance from Tatum in game 6 to win that game on the road, right?
Yeah.
And you talk about the role players like Grant Williams stepping up in game 7. Like, that takes a lot. Like, that shows a lot to me. Because most teams after that game 5, like, that's it. That's the season.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things that, like, it's harder for people to quantify, but when you watch them and the impression that you get, like, it is a tougher Celtics team than in years past. And I think maybe even Udoka, as the head coach being brought in, has done a great job in terms of just changing the mentality, in addition to the tactics. But, you know, that is a huge part of it. And, you know, honestly, like, when you look at Milwaukee, like, do you think that it was just because Chris Middleton wasn't there, therefore they couldn't have enough firepower? Like, if Chris Middleton was in this series, do you think they would win?
Yeah, but I think it's two things. So, number one, yes. I do believe if Chris was there healthy, they would have won. Because Giannis was that good. Like, I think Giannis is, I mean, he had the first 40-point, 20-rebound game since Shaq in game 6, right? Yeah. And it wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And even yesterday, like, he didn't get any help, right? Like once he ran out of gas, there was nobody to support him. So I think within the context of this 7-game series, I really think Giannis played good enough that if Chris was there, they would have won. But
what
I think
about the supporting guys?
Yes,
though?
but I think it's also true that regardless of that, though, when you look at the roster going forward, it's not a really good roster.
No.
And you were mentioning too before the show when we were chatting, like there's not a lot they can do to maneuver. Right?
No, I mean their like championship winning piece was going in for Drew Holiday, and they exhausted most of their assets for that.
And they won a title.
Like, there's not somebody on that Bucks roster that you can trade that doesn't factor into their winning right now, but that will be appealing enough to get back a piece that would factor into their winning in the future.
Yeah, you know, and their wings killed them. Like, their wings were terrible. Like Grayson Allen, Wes Matthews.
And that's where, like, look, if you have Chris Middleton, I think you would obviously, that's like 35 minutes of reliable two-way wing production there. Maybe more one-way than two-way, but, you know, he's at least an average defender. Average to good, I would say. Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, like, it's really interesting because if you just zoom out and look at the 4 finalists, right, and a couple of things are standing out to me between the fact that, number one, there's no super team. There's no super team in the NBA, which I think it's really enjoyable to watch. Like, the fact that we have so much turnover year after year, like what 2018 the Cavs were the representatives of the East, right? You look at 2019, it was the Raptors who won the East. 2020 was Miami, right?
Milwaukee last
year was Milwaukee, and now it's going to be Boston or Miami. Like, if Boston ends up making it like into the finals, like that's 5 years in a row where there's been different teams going to the championship. And I think that's, first off, like it's no longer like LeBron's going to win the East 10 years in a row or 8 years in a row, right? You're not going to see Golden State making it year after year and crushing teams along the way. Like, the fact that there is this mix, I think it really does create a situation where a lot of teams can feel reasonably in the hunt for a championship. Like, if you're the Clippers watching this from home, I mean, they technically didn't even make the playoffs, considering that, you know, they got bounced out of the play-in scenario. They probably feel like if they got healthy, they could realistically win the championship, and I don't even think they're wrong about that, right? So there's the parity in the league, which I think is really interesting. And I think the other thing, too, is just like when you look at the 4 teams, 3 of the teams in Boston, in Dallas, and in Golden State are all like organically built, drafted teams. Like, Boston drafted like most of the pieces on that rotation. Even guys coming off the bench like Grant Williams, or I guess he was starting, but like Grant Williams, you know, Robert Williams, even Peyton Pritchard, like these guys were all drafted pieces for them, right? You look at Dallas and they drafted Luka. I mean, that was a draft day trade and they had to make that the swap, but like, they drafted Luka. And you look at Golden State, that's like the model for a team that all those guys, Draymond, Clay, Steph, Jordan Poole, like all drafted. They built their team up in that way. Free agency does factor into it. And I think Miami's probably the one quote unquote free agency team where they signed Jimmy off free agency, they signed Kyle off free agency, but they did a lot of great drafting as well.
I mean, even Bam, Tyler Hero.
Yeah.
Even picking guys like Strus, Gabe Vincent,
Duncan Robinson. Like,
I do like this era. I like this era a lot with what you're saying. Because
there's an actual path. Like, it's actually really nice. I mean, it gives me hope as a Raptor fan because, like, I know the Raptors aren't at that level yet, but it's no longer just like the team has to be so good because of the fact that every 3-4 years, a team's just going to clear up all their cap space and sign all the best players and all of a sudden become a champion. Like, there was no shortcut to any of these teams.
Yeah, I think for team building to matter more is probably encouraging for Raptors fans, and I think it's just more fun. Like you look at now there's a challenge in Brooklyn to build around Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Now there's a challenge in Milwaukee. Like, how are you going to remake this roster so you can take advantage of Giannis's prime? Because he's too good of a player that like you should be competing for championships for like the next 5 years. And you look at Philly as well, right? Like, what are they going to do around Joel Embiid and James Harden? So no, I'm with you. I think this is a really exciting era. Like for me, like because people always argue like, oh, people will say like, oh, it's better when you have that one super team that everyone's gunning. Like when KD was on the Warriors, they're like, oh, you always need that one team.
Sure.
And I don't really agree with that. I like watching the basketball more now, especially because it's just more meaningful knowing that all these teams really have a legitimate shot at a championship.
Yeah. And I think even just in terms of the payoff as a fan, look, listen, any championship is going to feel great for every fan, right? But I think it feels so much more different when you have an attachment to some of the guys and you've seen them go through a process. Like the example here in Toronto is Kyle Lowry. Like the fact that Kyle was here with the Raptors through all those struggles, through some of those devastating playoff losses, and then to finally see him win, that's the added sweetness on top of the fact that the Raptors were named champions, right? Like you get to go through that process now with if Boston ends up winning at all. I think Celtics fans will feel very, very good about the fact that they've invested all this time into these players and they've grown up and they've hit the challenge and whatever. Like Luka's kind of the same deal. The Warriors have already had that feeling. The Bucks have already had that feeling. It's really fun to watch. And I think the other part too is just like the nature of free agency nowadays is like, okay, yeah, so you still need stars. There's no matter what, right? Obviously you can draft them, trade them, you can sign them, right? But so often now when you're making the moves to acquire these stars, it's also like, what is the cost? Because when you just draft a star, there's almost no cost. I guess there's like opportunity cost and you don't draft someone else, but like there's no cost. You didn't have to give up a player on your team to get that player. They just come on your team. Free agency, usually got to clear some cap. So there's usually some cost, but whatever. That's less of a cost. Trading for stars is just the part that to me is like you're exhausting everything you have. And when you're looking at these teams, not only are they like star led, like every single team has a marketable big name star, but it's also about the supporting cast. Miami's a deep team. Dallas.
Tobias Harris over me?
Yeah, like, trading for Tobias Harris was a choice. And now Philadelphia is like stuck. They don't have a lot of moves.
Trading for Tobias Harris was a choice. Re-signing him also a choice.
Yeah. And honestly, he was actually not bad. But,
No, there's this great tweet that's like, someone said, when you need 17 or 18 points, Tobias will give you 17 or 18. Yeah. When you need 25, Tobias will give you 17 or 18. Which I think explains a lot of players in that like Tobias Harris tier.
Yes, which is why you don't pay them the max because you're gonna misallocate your salary cap. Like when you're looking at like the Dallases of the world, they got real depth on their roster. The way Golden State went, kind of tanked for a little while and sort of had to reset their roster. They were able to rebuild their supporting cast around their central three guys, and even Boston is really deep as well. So you need that supporting cast. And that's the part where if you don't draft well, if you don't develop well, like you're never it's going to be very, very hard to just like sign guys and win a championship. That old model of like the old like Heatles model of you sign 3 guys in free agency and then you sign the rest of them are just like minimum salary guys. Like that's so much harder to win nowadays, especially considering just the way teams scheme and plan for you. You really need these supporting guys to step up because I don't think Boston overcomes Milwaukee without Grant Williams doing what he did, without Al Horford doing what he did at certain parts of the series. You look at Dallas, what they did last night, Spencer Dinwiddie just exploding.
Yeah, his crypto account went to zero. And Bobby Marks mentioned after the game that he earned a $500K bonus for making the conference finals. So all the jokes about him balling out because
he was playing for his life.
He was playing for his life, and he came through. So in a way, Spencer Dinwiddie might be a top 10 most clutch player in NBA history. But I get what you're saying. And I think the critical point for the Raptors when you talk about that is the next big question for them is who are you building around, right? Yeah, Scotty's obviously there, but they got to make a decision on like who you're building because you talk about the team building, it has to be centered around who you think is going to be there long term, right? Like you build a team around Giannis, you build a team around Steph, you build a team around KD. So who are the guys that you're building around? I
think you're building around Pascal right now.
Okay.
Personally.
Okay.
I think you're building around Pascal and you're building around Scotty.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
I would say Scotty and Pascal.
Yeah. And that puts you in an awkward spot because right now Fred is a better player than Scotty. But that's another conversation I wanted to have too, which was just because again, like I'm a Raptor fan. This is the Raptors show. When I watch these playoffs, I'm like, this is cool, but what does it mean in the context of the Raptors and sort of like how do these sort of lessons and how do they build their teams and how does that apply to the Raptors, right? So the other thing to me, I'm that is not like a novel thing. I just think that it's just been highlighted quite a bit in this year's playoffs. Is can you rely on small guards to be stars for you in the playoffs and win a championship that way?
Right, because
what I mean by this is not what I mean by this is not like can you have a guard on your team and win the championship, or can you start a guard and win a championship? Like obviously you can do that. I mean like a star player, the way Chris Paul needs to be a star for Phoenix for them to make it all the way to the championship and win the championship. And to me, like when I'm looking at the 4 teams that are still left, like the type of point guards that are in this championship are Steph, who's an alien, and Steph is the exception to every rule because he's so good. Like literally, he's too good to be included in this conversation. That's why he's special. He breaks the rules. The other teams, they have gritty point guards. Like Brunson is a scoring guard, but
plus Brunson plays a supporting role.
He plays a supporting role. He's like if he doesn't score 25, the Mavs can still win, right? Marcus Smart is like the definition of a gritty kind of point guard, kind of like supporting guy, sets the table for you. You don't need him to score. If he does score, you're probably going to win. And then Kyle Lowry is kind of the same deal for Miami. Now, of course, Miami's that we got to see if Kyle's healthy or not. That's going to be a big swing factor in the series. But like what you don't see are like the Trae Youngs in the Final Four right now. I know he made it last year. That's a different conversation. You don't see the Kyrie Irving types. You don't see, the Darius Garland types, the LaMelo Ball types. Like, like that kind of like flashy scoring. Even Chris Paul. Like Chris Paul is like the one that really made me think about this. It's just like, can you rely on small guards to be your stars deep, deep, deep into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, especially with the Raptors, because I think we were probably asking that question for all those years when Kyle was the lead guard on this team with DeMar, and clearly it wasn't until he took a more supporting role in that 2019 run where, the success came. And I'm guessing you're asking the same question about Fred now.
Yeah.
And I think that's valid because if you're talking about the Raptors as a actual contender, you're trying to build a contender, Fred's doing too much on this team right now.
Yeah.
He's being asked to do too much.
And this, by the way, this is a distinction that needs to be made. And it's not that Fred needs to do too much because of an ego thing. It's the talent around him right now is either not there yet or not good enough yet or developed enough yet to the point where Fred can step back.
Yeah, I've always said, for this team
the issue
to be
is Fred
successful,
needs more talent around
He
Fred.
needs more talent. And, the ideal scenario is, honestly, he plays 32 minutes. He plays 32 minutes.
I mean, if we're going to continue the Kyle Lowry comparison, like Kyle eventually became like, okay, in that championship team, for example, right? Like Kawhi was clear cut number 1. A distant number 2 would probably be Pascal. And then Kyle was kind of like a third option.
Yeah.
Like Kyle wasn't even scoring like big scoring numbers. Like he would be opportunistically score.
He would be opportunistic.
But it wasn't like we give him like 10 pick and rolls in a row, except for game 6 of the finals, by the way, which was awesome.
Right. But like outside of that, like how many like scoring, explosions can you point to for Kyle? Like even if you look at the game 7 against the Sixers, he did a lot of great things on the defensive end, right?
Yeah, it was like him taking charges, him coming in for an offensive rebound,
right.
setting guys up.
And Fred can do that, right? Fred's a great defensive player.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. You play him 38 minutes a game this season, and you have to do that, like you mentioned, because of the talent, the lack of talent on this team, and you exhaust all his minutes and his usage in the middle of the season to get yourself into a playoff spot. But then you have nothing left. He had nothing left in the playoffs. He wasn't even playing by the end of the first round.
Yeah.
Right? So
that's the first round.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about winning 4 rounds.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like Nick Nurse math was like try to keep him in the high 30s. He wants to lower his minutes to 35. Like in an ideal scenario, Fred plays like 30 to 32 minutes.
Yeah, but I also think that like the role in which you need these guys in, like that's the thing where I'm actually pretty confident Fred has the skill set to be a championship winning guard. Not only because he's literally already done it, but like he has the exact skill set you need. You need him to really be able to defend. You need to be super disruptive defensively. You need him to set the table for you offensively. That part could probably still improve a little bit more, but like he can definitely. You can't tell me like Marcus Smart's a better playmaker than Fred VanVleet. Like you're already good enough at that point. And he can definitely shoot the ball extremely well. And he'd be a safe ball handler as well for you. Like, those are all good things. I think the one thing that's lacking is he can't be like you think about the guards who have, like, forget even winning the championship. Small guards who are the number one guys on their team who have led their teams to the championship, into the championship. It's basically like Steph, AI, and like Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, it's a very short list.
And that's going back to like the 80s.
Mhm.
Was that the 80s? Again, I wasn't here for this.
Yeah, it's all blending in for me at this point.
Yeah, but like that's how far back. And but like you had to be that special. And obviously we know Fred's not on that level, right? But can he play that supporting role in a championship team? Absolutely.
For sure.
And that's the part that I actually feel good about. But then the other question is then, okay, if you can't serve as that like championship star, one or two, right? Then you have to question like how much of the cap do you commit to this kind of piece? Because you do need to save enough room to add and facilitate all the other pieces. Like Marcus Smart doesn't get paid the max. Marcus Smart gets paid like 15, 16. You know?
No, I think by the time Fred's contract, the next time he's negotiating, I think he has an option after next season, right?
Yeah.
To opt out of this one. Like, with OG, due for a big extension next time he's up, whatever you want to do with Gary.
I mean, he's got to like do it first.
Yeah, I get
otherwise he's getting the same contract.
But all I'm saying is like, Scotty's going to be on a pretty good contract for a little bit.
Yeah.
Pascal is signed to what he is.
Yep. And that number is not coming down, by the way.
No. Yeah. So like, to pay Fred the same amount next time around is going to be tough.
No, I don't think 20 is going to be tough. I just don't think like you can pay like the max.
No. You can't. And like,
but I also don't think the max is coming.
But the other thing too is like Fred's like such an outlier on the way this roster is built, right?
Yeah.
Like he really is the outlier. And you listen to Masai talk and he's like, yeah, he is an outlier, but he also has, all the intangibles. Masai listed them off. So there's clearly value there. And I do see the benefit of that. And I do think Fred is like weirdly undervalued now, especially by the fan base. Coming off, especially coming off the way the season ended. I feel like we forgot how much he did in the first half of the season.
Yeah, no, trust me. And you can go back to this over and over again, but the first reports of him having any issues with his knees was late in January. Up until that point, he had played 51 out of an available 54 games. And he was leading the league in minutes. The 3 games he missed, 2 were COVID, and 1 was he hurt his groin after the big balls.
Oh, yeah. Leading to Goran Dragic's last game.
Yes. Leading to 1 of 3 losses against Detroit. But seriously, at that point, he had played 51 of 54 games, was leading the league in minutes, was averaging 22 points, like 8 assists, 5 rebounds, shooting like 40% from 3. True shooting was like close to almost 60.
Yeah.
And was leading the league in deflections and was just incredible.
Yeah.
Right. But again, like the thing is, like, can you get that in from him in the playoffs? Because the thing with small guards to me is like I keep watching this, right? Like you look at a guy like Luka, right? He's going to come into every game. He's going to methodically seek out mismatches that he can attack. So the 2 mismatches he wanted was I want Aiden, the center, and I want Chris Paul, the point guard. Everyone else, I'm sure Luka could score on them. I'm sure if he needed to, he could, right? But
he was hunting for those.
He was hunting for those specific matchups.
Yeah.
And why is that, right? Number one, against Aiden, everyone knows now the center has been exposed year after year after year now in the playoffs, right? They get played off the floor, all this other stuff. You saw, like, Aiden didn't have the foot speed to contest Luka, right? Luka was hitting all sorts of jumpers over him. With Chris, it was just like, you just take him into the post and back him down. He's just too small. And that's the hard thing with the small guards is that, like, A, you're probably going to get picked on defensively. Like, B, when you are expected to score like a star, facilitate like a star, but you're a small guard, first off, can you impact the paint even though they're sending help towards you and even contesting you? Because you're going to have to really make up a big physicality gap and a size gap there. And the second thing is it's also a little bit too easy to just, like, trap a guard. You can just, like, blitz them very hard, force them to move the ball. And at that point, you really need a good 3-point shooting around you to do that. And so to me, it's like those are the things that if you can overcome these drawbacks and still play as a star, I mean, like, you got to be real special. You got to be like a Ja level kind of player or like an AI level player or even Steph, who I don't even understand how Steph does what he does, but he does it. So.
No, but like you said, like he's an outlier. But I do think there is a role for Fred on this team. For when they contend. But the big thing, you already called it out, is like the talent just has to be better.
Yeah,
and
for sure,
the the offense and then just the overall team like usage has to shift towards guys like Scotty. Like they just have to manage Fred. That's really all they need to do. We've seen him do things in the playoffs. Like it's not like we haven't seen it.
That's the thing. I'm not again like I'm not saying small guards cannot contribute in the playoffs. That's a totally different conversation than saying small guards cannot win the championship as like the number one.
It's about
or like
it's about the role
player.
that you put them in.
Exactly.
It's about the role.
Because we saw literally Kyle and Fred, and also that was a matchup thing too, by the way. In any case, we're gonna take a quick break right here. When we come back, we're probably gonna pile on to more slander for Chris Paul and the Phoenix Suns, and also hear from podcast favorite Patrick Beverley, because I think you and I are both in agreement that I like Pat Bev.
Yo, anybody who wakes up at 6 a.m. to hate, you just have to respect it.
Yeah. So we're going to take a quick break. I'm your host, William Liu, and you've been listening to The Raptors Show on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Welcome back to the Raptors Show on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. I'm your host, William Liu. I continue to be joined by producer and co-host Alex Wong. So as promised, we'll cover the other Game 7 that took place yesterday. And first off, congrats to the Dallas Mavericks. Incredible showing. Luka was sensational. Only person I've seen smile after more jumpers this year was Gary Trent Jr.
No. So that's wrong.
What?
Because Gary smiles before jumpers.
Okay,
right?
yeah.
So
right.
because Gary will smile whether he makes or misses.
We gotta have Gary on the program again in sometime in the future to ask him about why he does it.
Yeah.
Because if you've noticed Gary Trent Jr. shoot, well, honestly, the more noticeable thing is if you watch him during warmups, because he's obviously shooting nonstop,
which you do every game.
Yes, and before every shot he grimaces.
Yeah.
Or he cheeses. Actually, that's the best way to.
Yeah, Luka on the other hand will cross you up, step back, hit that three.
Yo, the way Cam Johnson just like fell over and laid there. Oh man.
Honestly,
you got to stop playing sports, man.
Who would have said no if they just ended the game there?
He's got to become an accountant.
Anyways, the Suns had
civilian job.
The Suns had 27 first half points. Fewest in NBA history by a home team in a Game 7. 30-point deficit at the half, also the largest Game 7 halftime deficit.
Luka had single-handedly...
He tied them in the first half. 27 points. And I was just fascinated. I was just staring at the score because I was seeing scores that I had never seen before.
Yeah.
So my two favorites were 64-27, I believe, at one point. And then in the fourth quarter, I saw a 114-68. I have never seen those combinations before.
Yeah.
Like in any game.
I mean, like, okay, so there was that Grizzlies game where they kind of randomly smacked up the Warriors, but it didn't feel like this. Like, the Warriors are at least scoring. They just weren't doing any thing on defense.
No,
this is next level. Man.
This was a 64-win team.
Yeah.
Right?
At 27 points at half.
At home in a Game 7. And I know afterwards everybody wanted to be like, oh, you're like, what actually happened? Like something must have happened in addition to what happened. And it's like, no. I think the Mavericks just came out, and once Lucas started dominating, you could tell that Phoenix was just pressing.
Yeah, they were pressing
and that
the
was
whole
it.
time. Yeah.
And that was it.
No, it reminded me a lot of like some of those LeBron years where it's like LeBron would come out, destroy everything you had, and then you were just like, I guess we'll run this little pick and roll here with DeMar and JV, and it's like, you're not doing anything, man. You're done.
No, they were posting up Bismack Biyombo.
Yeah, well, that speaks to Chris Paul, who there's got to be some sort of injury thing concerned with him.
He said when he left the arena that he was dealing with a quad injury. He told
oh, brother.
He told ESPN, I think.
Again? Yeah. Okay. Well, listen.
But I get it. I get the piling on of Chris Paul, especially because it seems like every time he has a bad series, you find out about an injury after, right?
It's clockwork.
But for me, it's not an excuse. It just speaks to his durability, and it goes back to what you said about small guards. Like, he just gets worn down.
Sometimes you just get beat. Sometimes you don't have anything. That's what it looked like. Chris Paul had nothing. There was plays in the first half where he would run a pick and roll with JaVale. And then instead of Chris attacking that scenario, he would just give up the quick pass to JaVale. Even though there was no double team, no pressure on him, he was just like, yo, here, JaVale, do something with the ball. That's not JaVale's role. JaVale's role, everyone knows, is to roll hard to the rim. If the guard is able to get downhill, force a 2-on scenario, throw up the lob, dunk it, or otherwise get the offensive rebound.
Yeah, and
you don't throw him the ball to get him to do something. And then later in that same half, with the Suns stuck on 20-some-odd points for the whole quarter, was like, oh, Bismack Biyombo? They posted up Bismack Biyombo. You know how the levels of finished you got to be saying, here, Biz, get the ball in the post and do something for us? Like, even the 2016 Raptors were not saying that.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. But I was shocked by that result, though. I was just shocked.
Of course. Me too. Yeah.
By the way that it happened, and I'm still kind of processing it because once you zoom out now, that's what this 2022 Phoenix Suns team is going to be forever remembered by, because they're one of two teams, I believe, with 64 plus wins. The other one was the Mavericks team that lost to the We Believe Warriors in the first round to not make it to at least the conference finals. And coming into the playoffs, like, I had Phoenix cruising to the finals.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was really fun to see when Phoenix was rolling, because it felt like every single player on that team was just shooting lights out from three or from mid-range. Like, there were some games in this playoffs where I was like, I don't understand how this team works. How do you just make every jumper? Towards the end, though, they literally couldn't make any jumpers. It was pretty funny to watch. And, you got to give Dallas a lot of credit defensively. I think they did a really great job with it. And, yeah.
No, you want to
Chris Paul Snyder is really fun because I know Assad asked this on the timeline. Is this the worst like playoff performance you've ever seen from a team. And I was like, this is not even the worst playoff performance in a game involving Chris Paul.
Yeah, because you pulled up an old New Orleans Hornets game. Right?
Yes, which obviously there were, that team, you can't say that you had a lot of help on that team. He was going up against a really, really good version of the Nuggets.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a great Kobe versus Melo battle in 2009. Lakers eventually won, and I think won the championship that year. But yeah, I think the final score was 121-63.
Oh man, it's another score I've never heard of.
121-63. Chris Paul had 6 points, 2 of 7 shooting, 6 turnovers, played 36 minutes. Yeah.
Every generation is going to have a few of these players, and Chris Paul is in that kind of James Harden category.
That's the thing too. Is just like, okay, again, going back to the small guards conversation. It's like, okay, you can expect the small guards to like really give you some really good games along the line, but then eventually, like, not only are going to physically wear down, but then you look at it on the balance of it. Do you really want to pay $40 million to Chris Paul now?
Yeah, it's funny.
Like, of course, regular season is totally worth it.
Mm-hmm.
In a playoff setting, if your ambitions are to win the championship, and not just win the season at large, I don't know. You have to allocate your money differently.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, Devin Booker was terrible the last 2 games of this series.
Well, he's getting blitzed because no one else can do anything.
DeAndre Ayton played like 17 minutes, and Monty Williams later he said it was an internal issue, is the reason why he didn't play more minutes. He's heading to restricted free agency. I get it though, but I mean, Chris was just coming off 14 of 14 in a closeout game in the first round.
Yeah,
he was staring down Luka and clowning him, laughing at him with Devin Booker after the Game 2 win.
Don't do that, man. What are you doing?
And
it's embarrassing, bro.
Chris didn't play a good game after Game 2. He fell off a cliff. He really cliffed Paul.
He literally turned 37 and it was over for him.
Yeah. Man. Scary hours when you're 37.
Damn. That's what I got to look forward to.
But yeah,
10 years from now.
it's really interesting because I think that's it for the contending window for Phoenix. Like, in terms of winning a championship.
Yeah, I mean, I think they hit a ceiling.
Mm-hmm. It was a good 2-year run, though. I mean, aside from yesterday.
They were 2 wins away from winning the championship. They were up 2-0. One of 5 times Chris Paul was up 2-0 and lost.
Here's the thing. I think there are times you can point to Chris having these terrible games when his team has needed it. But, like, it also blends into a lot of, like, I don't know what you want to call it, man. Bad luck or just running into these teams. Like, that Houston game, the Josh Smith, Corey Brewer game. Like, what? You're going to blame that all on Chris Paul? Like, are you blaming all, like, when they were down 3-2, when KD got hurt that 1 year and James Harden laid a couple eggs and they ended up losing in 6? Like, that was the year that the Warriors made the finals to play the Raptors, right? Like, some of it is injury and performance, but, like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't care to defend Chris Paul, but it's just like, this is just part of the culture now. Every time a team loses or a player loses, like, you do have to have this referendum on their entire career.
And we got to have other players.
Oh, my God.
Slandering them live on air. So, Patrick Beverley is the star of today. Went on ESPN, as you mentioned, set an alarm for like 4:30. Got up early, got into the New York studios at ESPN. Was on Get Up, then on First Take.
Because it's Asian Heritage Month, it actually started with a tweet from Jeremy Lin yesterday. Did you see this?
No, what happened?
So Jeremy, during the game, as the game was already out of reach, tweeted that he hopes that one day Chris Paul can win a championship because he deserves it.
Chris is going to have to take the Jeremy role in winning that championship.
Yeah. And Patrick Beverley replied and said, why? Like, why does he deserve it more than anyone else? And that really started it. And I think that's when ESPN placed the call and was like, hey, Pat Bev, you got more to say? And he definitely did. We could actually do we could have done a full hour of clips today. Like, everybody should really just
I think Patrick Beverley might have done 3 hours of Slander Pod on Chris Paul.
For the first time in like 2 years, I went to the ESPN YouTube page and like watched every clip.
Yeah, your algorithms are going to be ruined forever, by the way.
So we only have a couple clips here, but here's a clip of Patrick Beverley talking about the Phoenix Suns.
We're not having a conversation about why Phoenix lost in theory. We're having a conversation about why they were down by 46 points.
Scared.
30 at the half.
They were scared.
So now that's what are you saying to that?
Basketball player, you can see it in their eyes. They were scared. It ain't about Luka taking their soul. They knew starting the game what was going to happen. He's done it before. They watch, trust me. They have iPhone. They have Instagram. They see the numbers of Luka Doncic averaging 39. They hear me saying, man, he did it to me. He did it to me. Kawhi and Paul George, I'm damn sure he going to do it to them. They know that. Boys scared of Luka. Ain't nobody afraid of anybody over there in Phoenix, man. Everybody in the league knows that, bro. Like, it's just that y'all don't know that because y'all not in the locker room. No one's afraid of Phoenix. We wanted them. We wanted. No one's afraid of Phoenix. I talked to some teammates. I ain't gonna say who, because I'm gonna say who. Forget it. I talked to Paul George last night, man. Ain't nobody scared of them. But you face Dallas. You ain't scared of Dallas, but man, you
scared of Luka.
Hey man, you gotta get your game right when you play Luka. I'm just being honest.
Right.
Paul George is like, please, man, those are private text conversations.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, okay, so I understand Patrick Beverley's mission here was to slander Chris Paul. Only thing I will say in Chris Paul's defense, this man scored 41 points in an elimination game to beat the Clippers last year with Patrick Beverley on that side.
Yeah, when Patrick Beverley shoved him, remember the dirty play when he shoved him in the back when they were walking towards the timeout?
Yeah. I just feel like that context has to be added there. But
it definitely does.
In this situation, though, Patrick Beverley won. He didn't even play the game, and he won.
He said that he went on to say that CP is a cone on defense. So, he's like, you guys got to give him the Ben Simmons treatment. He was just saying all kinds of stuff.
You know what, though? I actually don't. That's the part I do agree with. Because if this is the game, and the game is if you lose as a star player, especially if the star player doesn't play well, they get slandered. Ben Simmons got slandered nonstop. James Harden got slandered very recently.
Yeah, by fans, but
Paul George gets slandered nonstop.
Yeah, fellow players is different.
Where was that for Chris Paul? Why does Chris always skate on this?
Chris doesn't skate. He gets criticism every year.
But there's also the pushback of like, he's still the point guard though, and there was injuries and this and this. And I don't want to hear it, man. I'm with Patrick Beverley on this. Just slander him. Just you know what this is? No other star do you slander them with context. Just slander is just slander. You do it, you take it, and then you move on.
I think that's for fans, though. It's different. Okay, here's the thing. The NBA is like a fraternity like that. And it's rare for guys like a Pat Bev who doesn't run in those circles like Banana Boat, LeBron, all these guys. Like, you don't see a lot of guys in the NBA coming out and saying those things. Like, you could probably only name, like, off one hand. I would say Pat Bev. I would say Draymond. And I'm already kind of running out of guys who would just come out and say these things about other players.
But don't you wish there were more?
Well, I mean, we got Joel Embiid, who only says it to his own teammates. which is its own class.
Oh man!
No, but
the self slander.
Yeah, but you can't name anyone else because it's a fraternity and there's just this respect, right? I mean, I would put James Harden on there too. Remember James Harden saying that Giannis has no skill.
Yep.
Right. So
by the way, this team has to be coached by Doc Rivers, who also specializes in slandering his own team.
Yeah, but for me, it's like
let's go. All NBA first team, all slander.
Yeah, so we got Pat Bev, we got Draymond.
Yep.
Joel Embiid,
yep.
James Harden.
Yep.
So it's coached by Doc Rivers, and we need one more player.
Man.
We'll find it.
Jimmy?
Yeah, okay, we'll put Jimmy there for now. So, we'll put Jimmy there for now. But it's hard to think of.
That's a good team, by the way.
Yeah, that's a pretty good team.
That team might win a championship.
That's a pretty good team. But, I mean, Pat Bev has been doing it forever, right? With Dame Lillard, with all these guys. Like, he's gone up against LeBron and talked a lot of trash.
Yeah,
right? And you know what? Like, I mean, it's easy to look back now because the Suns lost by however many points in Game 7. But they did talk a lot of trash, not only in this series, but the last 2 years.
Right,
we joke about the Jay Crowder salsa dancing. Like, he salsa danced after that first round.
Yeah.
And there was, I mean, even this series alone, them laughing at Luka after Game 2.
Come on.
And then Booker falling to the floor and saying he was doing a Luka special because he was just flopping on the ground.
Come on, man.
I don't mind the trash talking. You got to back it up, though.
I mean, they were backing up at the time when they were up 2-0, but then they lost 4 or 5.
No, not even 4 or 5. Bro. Yesterday was really that's the worst. That's the worst Game 7.
Yesterday was 2 losses.
That's the worst Game 7 I've ever seen from a home team. Like, I'm sure people can go back and find another game.
Honestly, that might be, yeah.
But you talk about the records. 27 points was a record in the first half. Trailing by 30 points was a record.
Yeah.
In the first half. Yeah. And you didn't even need ESPN stats and info to tell you that. Like, I've never seen a Game 7 like this.
Yeah, fair enough.
They got straight ran off the floor. And I don't know if you saw the clip. There's the Suns posted like a 1-minute clip of them, the Suns pregame, all the players just like dancing and posing backstage for like an hour. It was like that Kevin Durant dance in the 2019
No, please don't bring that up, man. I need to keep this job.
By the way, the lesson learned here is don't post any of those post-game workout
post it
clips.
after wins.
No. The problem is, like, remember during the season, the Sixers had posted James Harden running the stairs at the Wells Fargo Center. And I think that's when
By the way, you're literally in
out.
Philadelphia. Why don't you just go run the Rocky steps? It's like very basic. Anyway, whatever. Anyway.
And the Suns posted a clip of like Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton working out after a win during the regular season. They're just like lifting weights outside the locker room. That's just all. I don't know, man. It's a social media age, like you mentioned. Like every player, every team that loses, like everything's gonna get dug up, right?
Yeah.
Like everything's gonna get dug up. But like, man, yeah, I'm still processing that Phoenix one.
You know what we're still yet to process is the fact that we have an ongoing bet on the conference,
which I keep extending
on playoff picks.
Yes.
So through the first and second rounds, we have been picking series and results. And through the first round, I was up 4-3.
You were up 4-3. We didn't include the Raptors Sixers series because we both had Raptors in 7.
Yeah.
So in the second round, we continued. So we're playing. I still want a Leafs jersey, even though the Leafs season is over.
Yeah, okay.
You're playing for an SVP.
It might be on discount now.
Yeah, you're playing for an SVP gift card where everything is on discount.
Yeah.
So we
That's where I'm
actually
gonna get it for you.
We tied 2-2 in the second round. So I had the Warriors in 6. You had the Warriors in 5. So I got that one. I had the Heat in 6. You had the Heat in 5. So I got that one. I had the Bucks in 7. You had the Celtics in 7. So you took that yesterday.
Yep.
We both took the Suns. I had the Suns in 6. You had the Suns in 7. So I guess
closer.
technically you win. So you're still up 1 on me. So it's 6-5.
Yeah.
So let's go to the conference finals. I'll give you the first pick. So you can pick either of these series: Heat versus Celtics, Warriors versus Mavs.
I'm gonna go with Celtics in 6.
Celtics in 6. Okay, I'm gonna take the Heat in 7.
Okay.
I just don't want to root for Boston. I have no rationale.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Trust me, I'm rooting hard for the Miami Heat as well. And then second round, you get your first pick.
I'm gonna take the Mavs in 6.
The Mavs.
Yeah, taking Dallas, Miami.
Man,
another finals between those two franchises.
that would be fun. That's my ideal outcome.
I really believe in Luka like that right now. Honestly, their supporting cast is playing so well too. And you know what? They're a very well coached team right now.
You know what, man? Give me Warriors in 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like this.
Give me Warriors in 7. Mostly, I'm trying to guard against what could potentially. I guess I could take Dallas in 7 and still.
Yeah, but
no,
I don't think Dallas can win that road game if it's a road game at Chase Center. But
I don't know. They just
actually Luka can do whatever, man. Luka's honestly like
nothing phases
incredible.
the man. All he's laughing down. It's literally the scene from the Joker, like the Heath Ledger one, where he's walking from the hospital and like a thing explodes. Like that's Luka at the footprint.
Yeah,
what's the arena called?
But yeah, I think it's like Footprints. By the way, all the arena names are terrible now.
Yeah.
The Heat Arena, I think, is like RTX Arena or something. It's like a random stock symbol.
Right.
Like, yeah, we've lost the really good names. I mean, Crypto.com Arena.
Yeah.
That's looking tough.
Yes. So much worse than Staples. I mean, come on, man. Yeah.
No, it's gonna be the conference finals are gonna be fun though.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited about this. As long as anyone but Boston wins it all.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I would say if you had to say in your heart of hearts who's the real favorite right now to win the championship as it currently stands, would it not be Boston?
I'm gonna go with Dallas because
Luka's
they got the best player
left
standing.
Okay.
And after what he did to Phoenix, I gotta believe in that.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. But I mean, listen, I know the Warriors have looked very sloppy and many times so far, but I don't know, man. Top gear for the Warriors is still super
You're
scary.
still going back with that championship DNA type stuff. I'm not down with that stuff.
Man. And plus, they have experience playing like essentially Luka right now is playing an old LeBron role, like 2018 LeBron. That's why
I think this is. I think this is LeBron against the Detroit Pistons. I think this is when LeBron got through the Detroit Pistons. I really think Luka's going to do it. Anyways, to everybody coming to the live event tonight, we can't wait to see you. It's
Seriously,
gonna be fun.
Doors open at 7. Come get some food there. Come get some drinks.
Yeah, only come if you bought tickets though, because it's at full capacity.
Yeah, don't come. But maybe we'll do it again next time. But that does it for us today. I'm your host, Will Lou, and you've been listening to The Raptors Show on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Make sure you find The Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe, and please rate and review our show. Reminder, we're back to streaming live in addition to on the radio. We're also going to be on Sportsnet 360 and also on the YouTube stream, so you can catch us live between 2 and 3 p.m. Monday to Friday. Thanks again to my producer and co-host, Alex Wong, and to our board producer, Derek Bandeo, and I'll talk to you soon.